Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August 13th, 2022. Hopefully, you've had a good week. Hopefully, things have been moving along swimmingly, if you will. For me, myself, and I, pretty good. Some complaints, sure. I always got something to bitch and moan about. But overall, I had a good week. I've enjoyed it. Things are more or less positive and I am well, so that's good. We can talk about some food because I be eating. I want to start with what did I have that was probably the most interesting. Actually, Little Caesars. You guys know if you're a regular listener, I get a lot of hate for the food that I eat, and I've noticed that a lot of people feel a way about Little Caesars. So whenever I show my little stories and it's got some hot and ready's on there, people always have something to say. This is no different, but I will say the pizza was a little different. I got what they called the Fantastico Pepperoni. I don't know. It's some dumb name, honestly. But essentially, they just bake the pepperonis harder, so they're like a little bit more crispier. They do the thing where they round up a little bit and look like little suction cup pepperonis. So I liked it. It's pretty good. I mean, we're not changing the world here, and it was a $10 pizza, but it was fine, for a large pizza, yada yada yada. Also, I got the crazy bread and the sauce as opposed to the Italian cheese bread I did last time. I was talking to a friend, and I generally feel that apples to apples, the crazy bread is better than the Italian cheese bread. Now, discuss amongst yourselves and your friends, and you get back to me on what you think about that. But that's my vibe on it. I'm sure I ate some other cool things at work. What is it today? We did some overtime work, and I got some donuts, and I was able to maximize, which is my favorite thing to do, get the biggest things I can get. And I got this big glazed donut twist, so it's pretty much the size of a bow tie, but it's curled in on itself. I don't know how to describe it. And then I also got a glazed cinnamon roll, so I was happy to be made whole there, and it was good. But yeah, food wise has been good. It's been good eats for me. I need to go to the store and reload on some groceries, but I'm being lazy. But I'm sure I'll get around to it. But let's see. Enough about me, enough about the foods. We can get into some news. Let's see. Let's start off with CNN World. Got some Ukraine news a little bit here, just a little sprinkling. 7 Russian warplanes were destroyed in huge blasts at Crimean Air Base, new satellite images show. So, essentially, quick rundown on this story. It started off that there was just this big explosion in Crimea. No one exactly knew what happened. More or less, Russia had said there was a munitions explosion and it caused this whole thing to, blow up, and it was just a bunch of chaos, but it wasn't from an airstrike. And from what I've seen and gleaned, I don't believe that even Ukraine has taken responsibility for it, but it does look like something blew up at least one of these warplanes, and then it might have caused a reaction with the munitions in an explosion. It just doesn't look necessarily, from what they're saying and seeing from satellite images, that this was just some haphazard accident. It does look like this was, an intentional thing, which is big because it would most likely mean that this is in regards to the weaponry, the artillery that Ukraine is getting, they are using effectively, potentially. So that's good, right? But it was just a little bit of an interesting thing. Zelensky has, vowed to not just reclaim the territory that was lost in this invasion, but also to really take it back, to take back everything, to get back, Crimea. That is a big thing. That is a big deal. So, time will tell if that happens, but this was an interesting development, a little bit of a highlight from the week from Ukraine I wanted to talk about. But that's not the big news. It's not the big news. The big news that has been dominating, the news cycle for the week And actually, I'm gonna take a little early shmir break for it's Donald Trump. So he's in the headlines, of course. You know where he's supposed to be, Mr. 45. Got this from CNN Politics, and just the headline here is key lines from the search warrant and receipt for Trump's Florida home. So I'll leave you there, right here. Wait for me, please. And we're back, folks. Okay. All right. So I'm going to catch you up here, and then we'll get into this article. But essentially, there was a raid. There was a raid on Trump's Florida home in Mar-a-Lago. It is a very big, excuse me, it is a very big estate. Mansion. I put it up in the little picture thing so you get at least a visual of what it looks like. But it is this big private estate, but at the same time, it's like a resort situation. So, like, more or less, the home is his. It's for him and his family. But also, he has, like, private guests that are allowed there, and, like, there's rooms for them. So, it's a lot of room to cover. Also, I found out this week that Donald Trump has an area that he remodeled, more or less, into the office, like the Oval Office. They call it the 45 office. So, I mean, I was very surprised that he just kind of has this kind of estate. And it's weird, and I say surprised, because he took documents from the White House. And these documents, and I think it was initially alleged like it was like about 15 or so boxes of things that he took. The FBI said that in their search warrant that they wound up, making public, which is a very odd, rare, peculiar thing. But because of the situation at hand, this being a former president and an FBI doing a search warrant raid on his premises, it's a big deal. And it sparked a lot of outrage, controversy from the right. We're actually going to get into some of these, like the fallout that's already taken place already in the next bump, but we'll get to that. But essentially, they did a raid, they went in, and no one, like the lawyers weren't allowed in, yada yada yada, and they made a big stink about that. But that's how this works. That's just how the FBI conducts search raid or raids. They conduct their search warrant. You're not allowed on the premises until they're done. You sign saying that you are here though on the premises, and yada yada yada. This is what we took or what have. Maybe they don't tell you exactly what they took, but that's in the warrant. Like it's already on its face what they're looking for. Or there's the donuts. Ooh-wee. But they're face up about that part. So Trump had came out and he had in like a statement said, I found out that, the FBI has gone through, my house. They had conducted this raid. They even broke into my safe. Essentially, they're saying that they've been cooperating this whole time, that there's no need for this. It was unwarranted, and it was a weaponization of the FBI. So I remember on the day I was watching some Fox News footage, and it was just so crazy to hear these talking heads just pop off, just go off. They're just getting angry. They're like, this is bullshit. Like, FBI is bullshit. I'm hearing like other, I don't know, YouTuber motherfuckers like Steven Crowder or whatever, more or less saying like, oh, I don't care if we just turn into Nicaragua at this point. Like, this is crazy. Like, it's people were stoking the flames and fire here because they didn't understand what the FBI was looking for, and they thought that this was just some, abuse of government power. I saw a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene saying defund the FBI. I was like, oh wow, what a slay queen thing to say, boo. Ooh wee, maybe we can get along, huh? Because shit, I thought we weren't defunding shit. I thought that was crazy talk. I can't believe. I remember Joe Rogan talking how crazy it was that we are even talking about defunding the police, and he's talking to he's I don't know. I don't want to get in the weeds about Joe Rogan. This is not what this article or episode is about. But just so much blow up, so much heated energy going out about this. So that's why they wound up saying, okay, we're going to release it. We're going to show you what we took, what we were looking for. Here's the warrant. So let's see. Some of the documents were, because there were in total, let's see. The document reveals FBI agents removed more than 20 boxes from Trump's resort and residence in Palm Beach, as well as binders of photos, sets of classified government materials, and at least one handwritten note. According to the search warrant receipt, federal agents seized one set of top secret SCI documents, 4 sets of top secret documents, 3 sets of secret documents, and 3 sets of confidential documents. Now, I say secret a lot there from that bundle, but it's important to note that those are levels of secrecy. So the top one, secret SCI, I should know what the acronym means, but I don't. But essentially, like, these are like the utmost upper crust things that a president is going to see and look at and have, like, you know, shit to do about. And he took these documents and had these documents on hand, and you should not have these documents on hand. Mind you, that's part of the reason why I told you the layout of the whole mansion and all that, like who can be there, who is there. The Daily did a good episode on this, more or less explaining how this is a breach and how grievous it could be. Because if you're a friend of Donald Trump, whoever you are, yada, 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 you can be allowed on his premises. His premises, which these documents are here. They're not supposed to be here. Also, mind you, something I failed to mention, I forgot because there's a lot of shit to compress into, one episode. But essentially, none of these documents are allowed to be with him. And I know that might sound weird because you're thinking, well, like, what do you mean? Like, these are documents he saw. Like shit, if I'm a normal human being, I go to Kings Island, I get a brochure, I can take the brochure home, right? Or like, this is a document from me, like, it's about me, blah, 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 I should have it. But that's not how it works. It's more like, a thing that you sign and you see and you push back to the teacher, which goes to the school. I'm using weird analogies here, but more or less, these documents don't belong to Donald Trump. Just because you're the president, it does not mean that you get to own classified information. You just don't. That's not how it works. All of this stuff is supposed to go to the National Archive when you leave office. That is how it goes. And a lot of people are trying to play down this information, like, which is a part of the reason why it needed to be revealed, because people are like, who knows what he took with him? It could have just been some simple stuff and you guys are going crazy. Also, a lot of talking heads are saying, but what about Hillary Clinton and Benghazi? That shit, what about that? What about Hunter Biden's laptop, huh? What about that? Why aren't we doing anything about that? And I'm like, what? I don't understand what Hunter Biden's big old penis and his, desire to have a handgun in a Photoshop or photo with him naked and hookers, what does that have to do with any of this? Like, that's very odd, because none of those people are the president. Like, I get it with Hillary Clinton. Like, yeah, you want to know about, that whole, secret email account at her house. Okay, you should have actually prosecuted her. Maybe Donald Trump should have weaponized the FBI like he is talking is being done to him. I don't understand. That part is weird to me. I really feel like you should focus on the task at hand and not get on TikTok trying to, inspire violence. Because it's not going to work. It's not a good idea. I thought you guys learned that in January. It's so strange. It's so odd. But here we are. Let's see. We can dig in a little bit more. Among the items taken, a document about pardoning Roger Stone, a staunch Trump ally who was convicted in 2019 of lying to Congress during its probe of Russian meddling in the 2016 election. The Stone-related material taken from Mar-a-Lago was listed in the warrant receipt as executive grant of clemency, R.E. Roger Jason Stone Jr. and then material about the president of France. So that was some of the other stuff that was taken. Let's see. This article has a timeline. Also, Trump's team's response, which a lot of these guys are just big pros at just kind of stirring the pot on on TV, and they did their job. Trump's team is very well designed, very well put together. I've also noticed that he likes blondes and brunettes. So Trump's on his game. He has his team. His staff is good. They try to throw a little bit of misdirection, saying that it's not Trump's fault. This is actually the General Service Administration's fault, that they made a mistake and packed the boxes that got sent to Donald at Mar-a-Lago. They came out with a rebuttal saying that's not our job. It's actually specifically Donald Trump's team, or the former president's team, him and his staff. It's on them. So they handled that whole process, not us. So that's bullshit. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more to come. There's going to be more conversation. I'm definitely not covering all of it in terms of just the conversations, the counter conversations to all this bullshit. I do find it interesting, though. I've said this before on the podcast. I do not like talking about Donald Trump, actually. It's just a big Nexus conversation, and I feel like when you talk about him, you empower him more, which I think this is done even more so. The right has used this to galvanize people to potentially get out and vote, which at the end of the day is winds up being what matters anyway. Trump has been holding off on actually officially saying he's running, which I do find funny because I've definitely kind of talked to people and listened to kind of some people's opinions. Some people really out there think he wasn't going to run, and they thought that this is good, the reason. Like, this is for sure galvanizing him, pumping him up enough and his base enough to get out and vote, and it's going to happen. I think this is always going to happen. He was always going to get out there and run and have a campaign and try to get back in the office. But if you have a felony on your jacket, you can't do that. And naturally people are saying, well, this is just some political bullshit to try to stop him. And it's like, well, it takes time for these things to happen. It's not like this is some coincidental conspiracy theory unraveling before you. They have been trying to set this up because they need these documents. It's just a matter of national shit. Like, this is the wheels of government rolling. And speaking of that, Trump was also in New York. Part of the reason why he wasn't in his estate. But I don't have an article for this, but essentially it was like a deposition for Letitia James, and more or less about him like manipulating his numbers for like some Trump stuff or whatever. But essentially he was manipulating his numbers so that it would be better for him on taxes and stuff like that, but then also allow him to lower it and stuff to get like loans. Or no, I think I got it backwards. He can lower it so he can get better loans, or lower it for taxes and then raise it for loans. I don't know. But essentially that is what he's being accused of. So he sat down for a deposition about it. I believe they asked him about like 400 questions or something. He pled the fifth for all of them except for what his name was. So he said his name. He's like, I'm Donald J. Trump. And I plead the fifth. That's why I really didn't want to cover it, because it's kind of a nothing burger thing. We'll see if it unfurls with a defamation, and then I'll, have a full article talk about it. But we can move on to some of the fallout that took place this week from just the fervor campaign that was the right saying, this is bullshit, this is crazy, we have to start a civil war. We have to get out in the streets. We have to stop the FBI. which I'm just staring, and I'm just like, you guys cannot do that. By the way, like, do you guys remember Waco? Do you remember that? Because that was a real thing, and Alphabet Boys won there. Like ATF or whatever, whoever, FBI, that shit wound up being way too lit. They threw a tank at y'all. What do you mean? What are you guys gonna do? Do you really think you can stop? Anyway, we can get into some of this fallout, the real fallout, the things that are happening, not fucking hyper fantasy by these guys on TikTok or wherever they're fucking blah blah blahing on social media. Truth Social apparently is popping off, but I got this from, and another reason I wanted to cover this part too is it's local. We love a good local story, don't we, guys? Don't we, gals? But let's talk about it. Man killed by officers after attempted break-in at FBI Cincinnati field office. Got this from the Inquirer, Cincinnati.com. So, I was very shocked to see an Ohio man story like this. You know, we have been really catching up to Florida man. And I'm not really stoked about it, but it is just kind of what it is. So here we are, and I'm gonna tell you, if you hear me crack a joke, if you hear me giggle or laugh, I'm sorry, but this shit's crazy, and I hate to say he had it coming, but he had it coming. Anyway, this is about Richard W. Schiffer. This man decided that he was going to answer the call. He was going to fight for Trump. He was going to defend Donald. And he took a nail gun, I believe an assault rifle, body armor. He drove his Crown Vic down to the field office in Cincinnati. I believe it was like Sycamore area or something like that. And Sycamore Township, yeah. And he attempted to break in, attempted a breach. And it was with the intent of, I believe, killing as many FBI agents as possible. Mind you, I just did the article, and that was Mar-a-Lago, Florida. So I'm hearing this and thinking about, I'm like, what is this man's thought process here? Because it's not like you're going to get any documents here. It's not like you're going to shoot King FBI guy or whatever. You know, like, there's no gain here. You're just molding and you're taking it out on people who have nothing to do with it. Anyway, he didn't get in. He didn't get in. And I wish that was where the story ended, but it does get worse. He proceeds to flee. A shootout is ensuing. Gets in his car. He's driving. I believe it was on like I-75 or something like that. But they wind. Oh no, I'm sorry, got that way wrong. I-71, and he fled north. But his Crown Vic didn't get far. Let's see. Reading through some of the timeline here. There winds up, becoming a standoff. And I think I'm missing his, because he was also throughout the process. I believe he had posted a truth on Truth Social, and I want to find that maybe if I can. Man, that's killing me. But essentially, he winds up being pinned down. They're trying to negotiate with him to, more or less, talk him down so they can just get him arrested. They try to use some non-lethal stuff. That doesn't work, though. And he raises up and they shoot him. And that's the end of Mr. Schiffer. For better or worse. Man, I really wish I could find that. But let's see. Oh, I think I did. I think I found it, guys. All right. Well, I thought I had a way through bulletproof glass, and I didn't. If you don't hear from me, it is true I tried attacking the FBI, and it'll mean either I was taken off the internet, the FBI got me, or they sent the regular cops. Wow. And that's where the tweet just ends. Just cuts out. Something that I thought was weird, like, the prioritization here of the thought is just, I don't think this guy was a millennial, but it's just like, it's definitely like brain rotted as fuck. Where it's like, yeah, they tried to get me off the internet for this. This is what was so important. Or, they got me. Like, I'm either in jail or I'm fucking dead. And then he just didn't get to finish the thought because it was just over. And he's like, I gotta post this. And then, clap. I don't know. But, just weird. It's so fucking silly. Like, none of this had to happen. None of this had to transpire. But it is the effect that happens when people on the right, I mean, the same effect can happen on the left too. Technically, we've covered a story where a guy wound up in front of Kavanaugh's house with a gun, and he was like, oh, fuck, what the fuck am I doing here? This is crazy. I can't do this. Now, granted, I didn't hear any left talking heads say, we need to rise up and do something about this. We need to shoot people over Roe v. Wade. Like, nah. But that guy just wowed out, had a reactionary thought, and he's like, hold up. Now, this man, on the other hand, decided to really follow through. And we see the period of that sentence for him. So I would definitely advise people to not do that. I'm going to tell you with it. I'm going to level with you. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I also think it would be kind of cool and cheeky if we defunded the FBI, okay? Hey, right, left, look at us. Look at us coming together over a thought. That's neat, huh? I wouldn't say we should go about it that way. No. I don't think so. I don't think that's the way. I also don't really feel like the FBI here is doing anything wrong. They are being an arm of the government, and not in a way that like it's dark Brandon, it's dark Joe Biden. It is simply this is supposed to happen when you take something that you're not supposed to take from the White House, you know? So maybe we can just chill out. Maybe we just be cool, you know? Let's just let things unfold. Because, doubling back on the whole Trump thing, I don't even think there's going to be real jail time for him or anything like this. This is just them conducting, the warrant. Like, they made the warrant for a reason. They had to do this. And, we'll see what the fallout is. Probably he's gonna, like, they're gonna take him to trial over this, and like maybe he does get slapped with like a felony charge, but like I think you can not serve jail time for this and potentially get just a big old fine. So it's not that deep. Also, I think I always find interesting too is like people are so addicted to the cult of personality that is Donald Trump at this point, but like you have clear perfect alternatives. Like, this is so perfect for someone like a Ron DeSantis, because he just gets to kind of say, yeah, this is so fucked up. Like, the FBI is being really crazy. What? This is crazy in my backyard. Y'all wild for this. But it's super keen and very smart that he didn't really mention Trump by name when he's making these little comments and statements and tweets or whatever. Like, because isn't he such a great alternative? Isn't he standing up for the same things? He seems like a perfectly applicable, candidate, only he's just an actual factual politician, for better or worse, I guess. But I think there will always be a type of person to fill the void, especially after the spectacle that was 2016 and Donald Trump. So, why back a loser, huh? I don't know. I don't get it. But hey, they'll do what they do. We can move on here. We're still in the Trump sphere, though. I'm sorry. It was just a lot, and we are almost out of it, and then I'll let you go. But I mean, we do have one more thing that's not Trump related. But like, we just had to get through this. Got this from the AP. Iranian operative charged in plot to murder John Bolton. So, John Bolton was a former U.S. national security advisor for Donald Trump, his administration. He's been described as like a hawkish member, and essentially that means like they want war. And a term I'm glad I learned, because it's one of those things where I initially just associated with the right, but hawks are on the left and right. I've been this is a bit of a tangent, but I've been listening to I listened to season 2 of Blowback. I finally finished that. I've probably talked about this before on the podcast, but it is an amazing podcast series. 2 guys just more or less dissect just big moments in our government, international history, and they just really get into the guts of it, and they show you just stuff that you can actually see like on a timeline and hear actual conversations and just really tell it to you. So essentially they covered the Cuban Missile Crisis, but essentially just our whole relationship to Cuba, kind of from A to where we are now, and just do an amazing, great job. But what I'm getting at here is a point that they made is just that someone like, John Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, these are people who I grew up thinking were just like true blue, great, democratic people to look up to. And when you get into the grit of it, though, they have this thing that's the exact same as the right, where it's like, no, we need to be colonizers. We need to be militarily oppressive to people and do just whatever needs to be done. And to me, that is what a war hawk is. That's someone who is coming into a situation saying, how do we blow this up for America? how do we fucking blow this spot up for America? What do we get out of this? What is the treasure bounty? Do we make them a client state to us? What is it? How do we get them? If not, how do we stop them from, having things? Because that's what they deserve. Like, so that's me. What a war hawk is. That's my description of it. And this John Bolton guy is a hawkish guy. But essentially, he was very much anti-Iran, and he pushed for, just the administration to, like, keep their foot on their neck. And it led to, who is this? Qasim Soleimani, who was the head of the Revolutionary Guard elite Quds Force. They describe it a little bit in this article. He is an architect of Tehran's proxy wars in the Middle East, and he was killed as he traveled from Baghdad's international airport in January of 2020. This was a thing that Trump greenlit, came out and talked about. It was a really big deal. And, this is a guy who's really pushing for it. So essentially, Shahram Poursafi, who I believe is 45, no relation to Mr. 45, President 45, but he was trying to assassinate John Bolton, like, as an act of retaliation for this. And it looks like that didn't work out. And also, I believe there was another target that he wanted after Bolton, but this all kind of, came unraveled and, didn't work out. But essentially, charges have been filed against this man. Now, granted, he's not, in America or anything like that, so it's not like they can just arrest him today and, yada, throw, charges at him. But essentially, it's upping the stakes, saying this guy, we want him, and honestly, who knows, he might get drone striked or some shit, in a year or so, and someone's going to be taking credit for it. But he's on the menu now for that. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we can kind of describe what, some of the stuff he went through the process. But essentially, Poursafi wanted to hire a guy to, like, take photos, I guess, of Bolton, like, where Bolton, like, did his day-to-day stuff, some of his routine. That man then, I think, went to the FBI because he felt like it was, like, suspicious, or like, when he escalated more questions or the things that he wanted. But essentially, I think they got him in touch with a man who he was going to hire, like, $30,000, I think, to do the job. And this guy was, like, an informant or, like, someone who was tied to the FBI, thing where I guess we're trying to defund right now, but we're also using to, defend people who, help Trump and push Trump's policies. I don't know. It's really crazy. It's what an entanglement we're in. But essentially, this whole thing, was diffused. And, now he's more or less, I guess you could say, on the run. We'll see how that unfolds. Iran has more or less, I don't really think they're going to be, compliant and be like, oh yeah, we'll just turn them over for you. Now, granted, Bolton has, this kind of, I guess, a little bit of another tangent, but Bolton has criticized, Biden for trying to come to the table to talk about the nuclear deal, because part of the whole putting the foot on the throat was us putting sanctions on Iran and not coming to negotiate a nuclear deal with them so they could have these kind of things. And we're like, no, you can't have these things because you'll make nuclear weapons, and then you'll be a threat, and you'll be super bad. And they're like, okay, but we've kind of talked about, like, Iran has just found a way around these kind of things. Like, the sanctions are like, yeah, this fucking sucks, but we'll make it work. And because we're making it work, well, then why the hell would we stop making nuclear weapons? And so, at least I feel like the Biden administration at this point has kind of realized, well, we should at least maybe try to talk now, because maybe if we can at least get a handle on this, we can maybe curb the amount that they get, or curb what they're doing, and, like, give them something and more incentive to, like, not do this at all, maybe diffuse it. Who knows? Maybe a little bit pipe dream thinking at this point, but yeah. Wanted to kind of get in there, give you some coverage there. Oh, man, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I know I'm kind of just swirling and twirling here. But we got one more article to go through. I'm gonna take my last little break. Let's see here. We're gonna talk about Salman Rushdie. Woo-wee. And we're back. But are we really back? That's always the question. Sue. All right. Sorry, guys. I got this from CNN US. Authorities identify a suspect who attacked author Salman Rushdie at Western New York event. So this is actually, really fucking sad that, a man who's just an author, you can say, controversial or not. I'm learning, a little bit about him. I've heard his name before, just like listening to, I believe, like stuff like Last Podcast, stuff like that. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. But essentially, man has made some very interesting books, very cool books. Some big notables was Midnight's Children, but a bigger one that really put him on the map for better or worse in some circles was The Satanic Verses. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a quick Wikipedia rundown of what that book was. The Satanic Verses is the fourth novel of British Indian writer Salman Rushdie, first published in September 1988. The book was inspired by the life of Islamic prophet Muhammad. As with his previous books, Rushdie used magical realism and relied on contemporary events and people to create his characters. So, that description of the book, if you know anything about Islamic religion or Muslim, religion, no, I'm spacing out here. But depictions of the Prophet Muhammad are very touchy. You're definitely not allowed to make any kind of physical description, and you're definitely not supposed to do it in any kind of defamatory way. That's just a huge no-no. And then any kind of literature of the like, big no-no. You can't do, don't do. So Salman Rushdie doing what he did, making this book, was just a big thumb in the eye to that. And people were very upset. In this article they talk about there was a whole fatwa, issued against him. And, people want this man dead. They want to hurt him. They want him dead. And that's a scary thing to just, off of the weight of the words you wrote in a book that is literally not fiction. It's nonfiction. I said not fiction. I'm like, no, non-fiction. This isn't real. It's not claimed to be. And you are taking it as an affront to you, to your religion, and you're saying, I need to do something. And sadly, Hadi Matar, 24 years old, apparently wanted to do something about it. And he ran on stage. And I believe this takes place in Chautauqua Institution. It's in Western New York. And he comes up with a knife. And people, I guess, they could initially see there wasn't really, I believe, any words exchanged. But he rushes the stage. Ooh, excuse me. Sorry, I'm filming it raw. I'm burping all the time. But he rushes the stage and just assaults Rushdie. And I believe another person who was there was also hurt. But they were able to, other people were able to also get on stage and stop it, break it up. So he wasn't, the suspect wasn't able to run. Macha wasn't able to run. So he was apprehended, arrested. I believe he's going to be charged with attempted murder. I think that came out today. But Rushdie was on a ventilator on Friday evening and he could not speak. Let's see, there's a quote. Salman will likely lose one eye. The nerves in his arm were severed and his liver was stabbed and damaged. So that's not a good, reports. He's 75-year-old man. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot to take. Once again, this is all over books. It's all over literature. Like, it's crazy. It's fucked up. It's really sad to hear. I get it. As a person who was very religious during a point in his life, like, I understand the passion and the conviction, that you have over defending your way of life. Like, it is a part of who you are. Like, religion is important. I never want to sit here and like badmouth it to that degree. But I do believe that it is on people when you take that and you warp that into something that you use as violence. Like, that's not holy. Like, you're not doing what you think you're doing. I think it is much better to just be open-minded and let people breathe and be in the space and let your actions speak for you. Let your actions speak for your religion. And people will be moved enough by that and then maybe do something. Or they won't. But either way, it's your path, not theirs. I always think that's so bizarre when people get so wrapped up and so convicted in what they do that they want to impose that on others. Some fucked up shit. Definitely hope that he has the best recovery possible. Shit, man, we're rooting for it. Fuck that shit though. Don't be weird, guys. Don't be crazy. Don't be crazy. But I had a good time. Thank you for listening to me. If you'd like to help and support the podcast, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Every dollar helps. Also, $5 gets you newsy coverage, newsy access. There you go. That's the phrase I'm looking for. That's how I'm getting you in. You get a Discord that you can talk to me anytime. I'll be here. We can wrap it up. We can talk. I'm just right here. I get that shit. Boom, boom, boom. That's a pipeline to me. Let's see. Also, I'll give you a shout out on the podcast, like the lovely Stephanie Renee. If she ever wants to, if she can literally right now, if she wanted to, she could be like, Isaiah, I want you to talk about blah, blah, and I will cover that on Saturday and Sunday. I will talk about blah, blah, or maybe Friday. I will just be here for that. That's what I want to do that. And, or if she wants to plug something, I got you, Steph. Boom, 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 boom. So you could be like Queen Renee or not, hey, live your life. I do have, Isaiah News 1 at gmail.com. Any kind of feedback. Also, you can catch me on the internet. I mean, I'm painfully online. It's not hard to find me. Like, please don't be weird or anything like that. But I do appreciate talking about news. I appreciate talking about you. And everything in between. So, like, I'm not trying to get parasocial or anything, but, like, definitely hit me up. You know how? You know how to hit the podcast. You know how to hit me up. I'm out here. I'm out here. But I love you. I will see you soon for some more good news, I hope. Anyway, love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.